Okay, now we are going to discuss about formulating the hypothesis, plural hypothesis. So researcher will have one or more hypotheses. These are the questions that they want to address, which include prediction about the possible relationship between the things they want to investigate. As a researcher, we do not know the exact truth, but have a hunch about the outcome, and thus we make some predictions about the outcomes. This hunch or predictions about the outcomes is called the hypothesis, and it can also be termed as an educated guess or assumption about some phenomenon. This assumption is tested by the collecting the information that will enable us to conclude if our hunch was right. Thus, defining hypothesis has the following feature. It is a tentative proposition. The validity of a hypothesis is unknown. In the most cases, formulating a hypothesis, especially the logical relationship between two, it must be generalizable and it should be simple. Okay. So main function of hypothesis, they being focus, clarity and specifically in the research study, it help in making the sample design. They make the study more objective. They facilitate the formulation of the theory also. Okay. Hypothesis can be the following type. Descriptive hypothesis, it is the formulated to describe the characteristics like present rate of unemployment. Relational hypothesis, they indicate the relationship between two variables. For example, parent residing in the urban area. Explanatory hypothesis, they guide about the cause and effects between the two variable. Okay, so in the statistical hypothesis you have a null hypothesis against which you are testing an alternative hypothesis. So the hypothesis concern one or more characteristics of the distribution. Concept of null and alternative hypothesis. Professor R.F. Fisher was the first to use such as experiment. Principle of replication, randomization and local control. So observations that run contrary to those predicted are taken as evidence. Observations that are in the agreement with those predicted. So everyday problems are there. As I discussed, the hypothesis is a statement that relates to or more construct. Okay, here you need a clear operational definition, stress and job satisfaction. In a classical hypothesis testing, a statement about the population parameter and then a random sample. So as a teacher, you are under the impression that a high dropout rate exists among students from rural background or semi-urban area. Null hypothesis will state that place of the residence rural urban does not have any impact or dropout ratio. The alternative hypothesis will state that dropout rate is higher among students from rural area. Then data are collected to challenge the null hypothesis. If null hypothesis is rejected based on the data analysis, the alternative hypothesis will be automatically accepted. So hypothesis can also become the basis of further inquiry. Its formulation is based upon your own someone else observation. So directional and non-directional hypothesis. In a study relating to the academic performance, boys and girls, the null hypothesis would state that boys or girls have equal performance level. The directional hypothesis may state that boys or girls are more able, so it tend to be more specific about the outcome. The null hypothesis, non-directional alternatives would simply state we have no idea whether boys are more able or girls are more able, so only say that they are not the same. Preparing research design and the study design. Now when the setting up the hypothesis is done, the next step is research design. It is roadmap to carry out the research. It is a step by step approach addressing the basic question what, why, and all that. So the justification is required at every step as the resource are stake. In fact, many of the research methods are basically designs. Research design is an actively and time-based plan keeping in view of the research objective. It guides about the types of information to be collected, and it is framework for specifying the relationship among the variables. Okay, so it also answers the question is an intensive study of the small sample more effective way. Research design is also defining as a plan, structure, and strategy of investigation. Gori tried to establish a link between research design and problem structure. So, exploratory is unstructured, descriptive is structured, causal is structured. Objective of the research, selection of the method, source of information, and tools and data analysis. It makes research efficient, optimum utilization of resources, flexibility, minimizing the bias and reliability and the objectivity. Study of the design. On the basis of context research, cross sectional, longitudinal. In the cross sectional study, data is collected only once. The data are not necessarily gathered simultaneously. Okay, it may be take longer period. For example, data may be collected about holiday preference. In the longitudinal study, data would be collected at several points of time. Several points. Longitudinal is what? Several points. So, group of patients to check the efficacy of the drug. And now here is the marketer may be interested in getting the information about the impact of the advertisement. Now study design of the basis of reference period. Retrospective study design, it is mean for a phenomena or a situation that has occurred in the past. Prospective design, it is pertain to likely prevalence of the phenomena in the future. Study design based of the reference periods can be a combination of both retrospective and the prospective study. Study design of a basis of the nature of investigation. For example, a pharmaceutical company wants to test the impact of the drug in the treating people, cause and effect relationship between the two variables. That is the experimental study. If a study is done in the manner that we start from cause to establish the effect, the independent variable can be manipulated by the researcher. An independent variable or dependent variable. The treatment groups are of two types: experimental and control group. Experimental group is the new teaching method. A group of the patients being administered a new medicine. Control group receiving the treatment in a control group, so being taught with some conventional method. And control in experimental mean that the researcher want to investigate the effect. Randomization, the selection of the group as the experiment or the control group is random. All the participants have equal chance of being chosen for experimental group. Non-experimental study, if it is a retrospective type of study, thus we start from the effect to trace the cause. So it's non-experimental. Okay, so action research, it is research initiated to solve immediate problem. Kurt Lewin coined this term, and applied research is on the general application, whereas the action is focused on the immediate application. Cohort study is what? It's based on the existence of some common characteristics such as the year of birth, graduation, marriage, study of patterns. Okay, and placebo design, a patient for example may have a impression that he is undergoing treatment, but in the reality he is being given only sugar pills, so it can play important role in his recovery. There can be two groups, one receiving actual treatment and the second receiving a placebo treatment. Okay, now development data collection instrument research instructions. Data are defined as information recorded to the represent facts. Data represent facts about the hypothesis variable. Data analyzed to determine the consistency and predictions. If data and prediction are consistent, then null hypothesis is supported. If data and predictions are inconsistent, hypothesis is not supported and is rejected. Okay. So the quantity and validity of the output are solely depend on the tool used by the data collection. Primary and secondary data. Primary data collections for the purpose is current situation, and it is collected fresh by the researcher and based on the survey, observation, experimentation. Primary data is observation, interview, mail, phone and personal. Secondary data is collected from the external source, radio, magazines and books. Okay. Now objective of the data and the subjective data. Objective data are the independent of the single person opinion, where the subjective data can be individual opinion or it can be dependent upon the researchers. So quantitative and qualitative. Qualitative data is a description of thing made without assigning numerical value. For example, fact generated from the unstructured interview. And quantitative data measured in which the numbers are used directly to represent the property of the thing. Observation method. This is a used behavioral science. It is about the collecting primary data by the investigation on direct observation of the relevant people, action and situation without asking from the respondent. Okay. So next is observation can yield information which people are normally not willing or able to provide. Structured is to descriptive research and structured for exploratory research. Participant observation, non-participant limitation. Firstly, there are many behavioral aspects that may not be observable directly. So survey method is observation method supplemented with survey. Approach is more suitable for gathering descriptive information. Structured survey is also there and unstructured is also there. Advantage is it's quick, low cost will be there, and it's different type of information we get. Limitation, privacy issue, reluctance to the part of respondent and bias being happy. Contact method is it include the collecting the large amount of information, that is contact method. Respondent may give more honest answers. It is unbiased and convenient for respondent and good way to reach the people. It is not flexible. It take a longer time for the complete the telephonic personal interview and it has low response rate. Telephonic interview is quick method given the flexibility and sample control is greater. Okay, cost ज़्यादा होती है. Personal interview it's very flexible. Trained interview can hold the respondent attention and are available to clarify the difficult question. They can guide interview, explore the issue and probe as the situation require. Personal interviews can be used in the any of the questionnaires. Okay. So this takes two forms, namely intercept interviewing and focus group interviewing also. Intercept interviewing, it is widely used in the marketing research. It allows the researcher to reach the know the people short period time. It is only method reaching the people, name and address are unknown, so that is intercept interviewing. It involves the talking to the people at homes and office. The interviewer must gain the interviewer's cooperation, and there's the greater room for the error biased in the intercept interview. Focus group, it is usually conducted by inviting 6 to 10 people, and the meeting is held in the pleasant place. The moderator needs objectivity, knowledge of the subjective and industry. The moderator start with the broad questioning, and it is often held to help determine the subject areas, and comment is also there. It is more expensive than the telephonic survey. Group interview study keep the sample size small. Now construction of a research tool. Questionnaire depends upon the research objective. For each objective of the research question, list all the associate questions that a researcher wants to answer through a study, then the information required to answer them, and finally the question are listed. Questionnaire concept and types. A questionnaire consists of set of questions. The questionnaire is used during the structured survey and the respondent read the questions, and it is also called the interview schedule when the researcher asks the question and record the questions. Okay, so close-ended questionnaires, close-ended is the generally include the multiple choice questions. This type of questionnaires can be administered to a large number of the respondent, that is close-ended. Okay, open-ended is a questionnaire offer flexibility, and in close-ended there is no flexibility. And close-ended is might be used to find out how many people are metro rail. Open-ended is might be used to find out what people think about the quality of the service. So open-ended for the quality, close-ended for the numerical data. Combined questionnaires is the both. So combine is the both close and open-ended. Selection sample reduction in the overall cost, less time consuming. In case of population consistent, this becomes even more desirable. So selecting is the sample is the first step. Ideally, a representative sample should be an unbiased indication of what population is like. Some of the factors researchers considered when selecting the sample: what is age, sex, educational level, socio-economic. Sample size: the larger the sample, the more the accuracy. Variation in population will not be there. Types of sampling: probability of the random sampling. Each person in the population have equal, independent and known chance of being selected. Next is sampling is there. So first one is the simple random sampling. Every element or member of the population has a known equal chance of being selected. Stratified random sample: in case the population is heterogeneous, the population can be divided into different strata. The population within a stratum is homogeneous with respect to the characteristics under the study. Population is divided into mutually exclusive group. Okay. Now cluster sample: the simple and stratified sampling is adopted in situation when population size is small and unit are identified. But if the population is larger, the researcher can go for the cluster sampling. The population is divided into mutually exclusive group and the researcher draw the sample group in the interview, that is cluster sampling. Non-probability sampling: it is a sampling technique where the sample are gathered in a process that does not give all the individual in the population equal chances of being selected. So here only some elements of the population have a greater chances. Convenience sampling: the researchers select the easiest population member from which to obtain information. Judgment or purposive sampling: the researcher use judgment to select the population who are likely to provide the accurate information. Quota sampling: the researcher find the interview a prescribed number of people in each of the several category. Okay, and the sample is selected from a location convenient to him, her, and possibility to include the people. Accidental sampling: it is akin to quota sampling but used in the market research. Snowball sampling: in this kind of the sampling, the information may be selected from few individuals. They may identify other people. Determining the sample design: sample itself, sample size, sampling. What is the purpose of the sampling? Okay, population kitni hai, what is the procedure, like time, budget, resources. Publishing is also important. Now writing a research proposal. A research proposal is document of usually 3 to 7 pages. At usual the master or doctorate for thesis, but it can also be a work on the corporate purpose. So a research proposal is a document written by the researcher that provide a detailed description. It is like a outline of the entire research process. Okay, and research proposal are written for a various research like budget request and certification and all that. So main element of the proposal: need of the specific project, benefits क्या हैं, type of data analysis, help to require the organization, duration कितनी है, profile credential क्या है. Now collection of the data: how will you go for the collection of data? Primary data and the secondary data. Two types of data are there. Primary data you can go with the by observation, collecting of the information by the way of investigating on observation, and is a very expensive, and information gathered in the such a manner is limited. So next is personal interview, following structured approach and the questions preconceived. Now telephonic interview is also there, used when the survey has to be accomplished in a very limited time. Mailed questionnaires like are mailed to the respondent with a request to return after completing the same. It is the most commonly used method, and pilot study based on this. Schedule in the method, the enumerated appointed the trained for the gathering the information. Now processing and analyzing of the data. What is the processing and analysis? It's the next step after the data collection. So large data should be condensed into a few manageable group, then further we can analyze it. So edit किया जाता है first. Editing, the process of cleaning the data and the called the editing. So editing is to identify the minimize the errors and misclassification, miscalculation. Next is coding. It depends upon how a variable has been measured in your research instruction. For coding, the first step is to ensure the nature of data, whether it is qualitative, quantitative. The quantitative data is descriptive and the categorize will be there. Okay, quantitative data categorize information is the process to be converted into the numerical value. So which category of the data transform into the symbols? The descriptive information goes through a process called the content analysis. Theme descriptive information such as interview, and in descriptive qualitative data research may go through the transcription. Now classification of data, there are the simple classification is the classes, one class consisting of the items and the give attribute, and the other class consisting of the items which not possess the given attribute. Manifold classification, in this classification the consider two or more attribute also there, okay, like PG, gender, PhD. Classification according to the class interval, so data relating to the income, age, weight and all that. Tabulation is a part of the technical procedure when the classification data are put into the table. It is a process of summarizing the raw data. It conserves the space and reduces the explanatory and the descriptive statement. It facilitates the process of comparison. It facilitates the summation. It provides the basis for various statistical so tabulation may also be classified simple and complex tabulation also. So its complex tabulation usually results into a two-way table which gives the information about the interrelated characteristics. Analysis of the data. Qualitative data is the identify the main theme. Researcher needs to carefully go through the description of the theme. Now assign code to the main theme. Assigning code is required when researcher wants to count the number of the times. Classify the under the main theme, and the next step is to go through the transcript of all the interview and classify the theme. Integrate the themes. Okay, quantitative data, this method is more suitable for large, well designed and well administered survey. Mein quant is a quantitative. Construct and wonder the questionnaires. Data can be analyzed. And manual data is for not many variable, but useful only for the calculating frequency and for the simple cross tabulation. Okay, data analysis using a computer. If you want to analyze the data using computer, you should be familiar with the appropriate program also. SPSS for the window data input can be long laboratory process. Now hypothesis testing is for the research in a position to test the hypothesis. As I discussed earlier, the qualitative study may not have any formal hypothesis. In quantitative study, we see whether the facts support the hypothesis or they happen to be contrary. This is usual question that should be answered while testing hypothesis. So there are chi-square test, t-test and f-test. The hypothesis may be tested through use of one or more such tests depending upon the nature and the research inquiry. Okay, so researcher has no hypothesis to start with generalization established, then generalization and interpretation. If a hypothesis is tested and upheld several times, it may be possible for the researcher to arrive at the generalization that is built a theory. As a matter of fact, the real value of the research lies in the ability to arrive at a certain generalization. If the researcher not hypothesis start might seek to explain the findings. So writing of the research report, title of the research, name of the research, purpose of the research. Okay, so conclusion of the research, example, content, introduction, theoretical framework and the review of the related literature. Research design, data analysis, summary, bibliography, questionnaires and manager, income level, age, pie chart, bar graphs. Acknowledgement is the researcher may acknowledge institute principal, faculty, guide the research principle. Introduction is the section introduce the research, setting out main aim is the objective is the actually rational research. And framework of the review of the literature, this is includes all the background research, and you must indicate from where all information obtained. Okay, and is not theft and all that are the literature reviews. There could be accused plagiarism should not be there. And research design is section includes all these details. Replicate the research study, its method used for the data collection, sampling tools and data collection. Data analysis and the interpretation is very important. So these all summary and conclusion is you finding and draw conclusion. Recommendation, if research has been conducted for any client, this section could be treated as the most important. Suggestions for the further research section show how research could be continued. This could happen as some results are inconclusive. So it also show the honesty, integrity of the researcher. Now list of the reference and bibliography. The list of the reference contain only the detail of those work cited text. It includes the source not cited in the main text. So books are authors का क्या surname है, date of the publication, title of the book, place of the publication. For general article, the title of the articles will be there. Okay, example, KVS influence British rule on the Indian culture. This is the specialty of the case of the questionnaire interview schedule. Okay, now next is dissertation and the thesis. A dissertation is the culminate in the postgraduate degree, and this American university, a dissertation leads to the PhD degree and the thesis leads to the master degree. In the dissertation, it is accurate if one has a decent knowledge of the new discovery in the order to arrive a conclusion. In this, one has to subtitle the hypothesis with the original research work. The hypothesis or the synopsis should contain the gist of the new findings. Details of original research thesis may be subjected to scrutiny for plagiarism should not be there. Another finite difference between the two is thesis analysis of the existing literature, whereas a dissertation by the analysis of existing literature. Researcher has to utilize the already collected information, prepare the dissertation, where thesis is based on the research concluded all himself. Okay, thesis is lengthier, thus take more time, while dissertation is shorter. Thesis researcher have include hypotheses based on your research work. In contrast, thesis dissertation research should have a decent knowledge, new discoveries. In thesis, researcher has to focus on your primary argument, and in standpoint dissertation focus on background work. In master dissertation, researcher has to utilize the research work in order to prove his point. PhD thesis. Thesis is written as academic research, where dissertation is more like an academic book. Data collected dissertation is based upon hypothesis analysis of content, and thesis is comprises of theory and arguments. Now Shodh Ganga and Shodh Gangotri, that is INFLIBNet Center, is the autonomous in university IUC of the University Grant Commission. Now candidate will be have to store thesis in compact disk, that is Shodh Ganga and Shodh Gangotri. It's a digital repository. So it's prescribed by the Shodh Ganga. CD must be authenticated. INFLIBNet introduced the Shodh Gangotri. Basic bibliographic information. American Psychological Association was there. It's a title and subtitle. The exception to this rule would be periodical title is there, and periodical title is run in case of the followed by the volume number. Okay. Now book format. Author last name is first initial book title, then Madan KVS fundamental retaining. Encyclopedia and dictionary formats are there, and magazine and newspaper article formats are there. So website or the web page format for the online predictions are also there. These are some books. A main term used in the context of the footnote and the reference writing. IBID is a abbreviation for the Latin ibidem, meaning is refer to the same author and the source. op.cit is a abbreviation for the Latin cited, meaning word cited is refer to the reference listed earlier by the same author. And log.cit, it's for the Latin origin and observation for loco cito. Okay, the Indian National Bibliography has been considered as the authoritarian bibliographic record of current Indian publication. The main center for the Roman script and the collection and the annotation is English, and classify the portion. So, okay, National Bibliography central reference is there. Now, research ethics. Ethics is principle to guideline help to the uphold things we value. Okay, so in all society we have legal rules to govern certain behavior, but ethical norms tend to broader and more informal laws. An action may be legal but unethical, illegal and but ethical. So ethics always emerge from conflict, but values and research ethics are not an exception. In research, these conflicts may take different forms, such as the participant concern for the privacy and manipulation, openness, replication, confidentiality. These are some problems there. So the benefits of the observing ethics, it helps to promoting the aim of the research, promote the values, all the accountability and the return can help in the getting the participant who are part of this research. Main approach of the research ethics, deontological approach. We should identify, use the universal code in making the ethical decision. That is a deontological approach. And ethical skepticism approach, it is stated that the ethical standards are not universal but related to one own particular culture, that is ethical. Okay, utility approach, that based on the examination and comparison of cost and benefit, that is utilitarian approach. Ethical skepticism means it's a particular, not a universal. Utilitarian means if the expected benefits exceed expected risk, the study is presumed to ethical. The risk benefit precaution is a modern version of the end justifying means. Some desirable element of the ethics is honesty, objectivity, integrity, carefulness, openness, respect, confidentiality, responsible publication, responsible mentoring, respect for colleagues, social responsibility, non-discrimination, enhancing the competence, ensuring the legality and the animal care. Stakeholder in the research. There are the three stakeholders in the research, namely the participant of the subject and research. Ethical issue relating to the participant. There are many ethical issues in the relation to the participant of the research activity. One of the most commonly cited principle is that we should not cause harm to the our research participant. Medical experiment is a Nazi doctor. Nazi doctor German is killed, so had differently colored eyes. Okay, a South African oncologist experiment with women suffering from the cancer doses of the chemotherapist. Ethical issue during the organ transplant and experimental animal. In research medical science, the observation of the ethics is very crucial. Even now the pharmaceutical companies wants to conduct the clinical trial. Okay, apart from physical injury, the psychological distress, emotional harm, loss of self-esteem being persuaded to conduct the morally act. Okay, so during the initial phase medical research history, people participating in the trial were referred to research subject. Now they are called the trial participant. Collecting the information. Before a research actually collect information is request. Information may be pursued create anxiety. Okay, seeking the consent of the participant, providing the incentive, seeking the sensitive information, possibility to causing harm to the participant, and maintaining the confidentiality. These are important for the research. Ethical issue relating to the research, avoiding the bias, providing provision or depreciation of the treatment, using the inappropriate research methodology, that's not right. Incorrect reporting is also not right. Inappropriate use of the information, that is also not right. Okay, so new policy may not be served to the intent. And now fabricating the behavior, falsification, manipulation, these all plagiarism is the act appropriating somebody else's idea, thoughts, picture. If a researcher plagiarizes the work of others, their integrity, ethics and trustworthiness of the sum total of his research becomes questionable. Okay, intracorporal, like a case of the plagiarism where one student has copied from the another. Extracorporal, it is an instance of the plagiarism where the student has copied the material from the external sources. And autoplagiarism is when it's own work without acknowledgement. Okay, multiple authorship is also there, so such as excluding the authors, including the authors contributing towards the work published. Peer review, it is a process in which an author submits a written manuscript or an article to a journal for publication. The journal edited distribution the article to expert or reviewer. The peer review process seldom process. An entire process may involve the several rounds. Okay, the two most important ethics in the process are the maintaining confidentiality and protection of the intellectual property, reviewing know the names and all this, and duplicate and partial publication should not be there. Now important measure to the make the research more ethical, informed consent, everything should be informed. Okay, informed participation should be there. Protecting the research design, happening harmful effect should not be there. Okay, screening, like select the only those individual for study who show a high tolerance for the potential risk. Pilot study for the potential harms and uncertainty should not be there. Diagnostic is should be cause and effect is important. Outside proposal review is professional codes should be used there. And government regulations such as the state and the central law are designed to protect. Now papers and articles and workshop and seminars. So papers is defined as the essay or the dissertation. Read the seminar, publish the journal. It is either a results research efforts research such as the literature survey, data collection. It usually follow the general editor's policy and conceptual paper also. Article is the usually information nature which typically address the topic in general. A research article is written by and for the researcher for a purpose of making the specific finding. It includes a problem, question, methods, data, conclusion. Research article is found exclusively in the peer-reviewed scientific medical journal. Research article illustrate the outcome of the scientific research. Meeting is important for assembly, coming together and workshop conference. So it's very remote sort way Now symposium, it's usually a formal meeting and specially delivers short addresses. Okay, so relating to the, it's especially one which participant from the audience. Colloquium, it is usually academic meeting. So symposium is the formal meeting, colloquium is the academic meeting relating to the answer question relating topic. Conferences is meeting of the people who confer about the topic. It is meeting where people comes and discuss, that is conferences. Colloquium academic and conferences are people comes and discuss. It features the keynotes and presentation delivered to all attendants as well as multiple breakout sessions. It can be academic conferences, business conferences, parent teacher conferences, webinars or web conferences. Webinars is the presentation involve the audio and video component. So it's the video portion and delivered the via internet. Seminars, word seminar from the Latin word seminarium means seed plot. It is formal presentation by one or more expert to small group. So symposium and seminar both are the formal. Okay, and the motive behind the seminar system is to familiarize the student with vital their study and also to allow them to interact with the examples. A seminar is a form of the academic instruction. Seminar focus on some particular projects, and colloquium and seminar both happen in an academic setting. Workshop tend to the smaller and more intense seminar. This formal involve the student participant their new skill. Hands-on workshop is involve the participant doing work on the particular issue. The promise is when they leave. Okay, now next one is its last one. Okay, impact. This is impact factor. Impact factor of academic journal is a measure reflecting the average number of the citation to recent article published in the journal. It reflects the relative importance of the journal. The journal with higher impact factor are deemed to be more important, and the H index is an index that attempt to measure both the productivity and impact of the published work. So the G index is like its average citation ground, and the I index is also there. This is written about I index. Okay, so I index for the publication, and author has written that has at least 10 citations, and Google as a part of their work, Google Scholar is search engine dedicated to academic and related paper. So this whole topic today we covered, which is research aptitude.